The Big Ten dominates week 2 of the college football landscape, and it's not even up for debate. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, of course, and as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The Big Ten has the best games in week 2, not even close. Plus, we have some Big Ten news. And why is Ryan Day upset? Everything seems to be going swimmingly there at Ohio State. Plus, we'll have our Pigskin Picks. That's what we do on Friday. But the Big Ten has the most intriguing games in all of college football this weekend. We kick off at noon with the top 10 battle in the Big House with Texas and Michigan. We have the Cyhawk series, Iowa State and Iowa. And we have Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes heading into Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Cornhuskers and face freshman phenom Dylan Raiola at quarterback. It's going to be a fantastic day on Saturday. And a quick programming note right here. Set your alarm or a calendar reminder. Locked On Big Ten is going to go live as soon as the Colorado-Nebraska game is over, around 10:45, 11 o'clock Eastern time. That game's on NBC. We're going live on Locked On Big Ten with a reaction, immediate reaction to that game. Get your first reaction to that game on this podcast. And, of course, we'll cover the entire day's events around the Big Ten as well. All right, so we'll get to those games we just mentioned in a minute. But seriously, this is a great set of games this weekend. Big Ten's got it all. This is where you want to be. This is the premier conference. I mean, you can sit around and watch Georgia hang 70 points on Tennessee Tech. No. You're going to watch Notre Dame beat Northern Illinois by 5 touchdowns. You're going to watch Ole Miss beat Middle Tennessee by 50 after they scored more than 70 against Furman last week. How much is Alabama going to beat South Florida by? Or the Hurricanes over Florida A&M? I live in Florida. I do not know where Florida A&M is. That's who they're playing. Actually, I think it's near Tallahassee, but don't quote me on that. And look, I get it. But the Big Ten's going to have its fair share of blowouts this weekend. I'm sure Ohio State will destroy Western Michigan. I'm sure USC will throttle Utah State. And Penn State will just walk through Bowling Green. We'll have our blowouts. But the beauty of the Big Ten having 18 teams is that the law of averages, we're almost guaranteed to have multiple awesome games each and every weekend, every week. And we haven't even started head-to-head play yet in the conference, with the exception of Saturday's game between Michigan State and Maryland. That's the first one on the board. That's at 3:30, by the way, on the Big Ten Network, if you want to check that out. The Spartans, by the way, did not look good in their win over FAU and Jonathan Smith and Aiden Child's debut for Michigan State. And Maryland is coming off a 43-point win over UConn, but it was UConn. So we look forward to these Big Ten games going head-to-head against someone their own size with Michigan State and Maryland. If you want to go back to our website, talkbig10.com, we took an in-depth look yesterday at the Texas versus Michigan game. And the day before, we did the Colorado-Nebraska preview. So you can check that out, Talk Big Ten. We'll talk about them a little bit more here today, so don't go away. But if you want to check out the podcast really focused on them, they're the previous two podcasts on the last 2 days here on our website, talkbig10.com, for everything Locked On Big Ten. So who knows what to expect? As far as the Cyhawk Trophy, that's up for grabs. That's a huge rivalry that is taking place on Saturday. It's always a great game. It's usually a slugfest. More recently, it has been a rather low-scoring game. It's the I guess it's Iowa. Well, I was going to say it's Iowa's version of the Army-Navy game, but it's really not. I mean, that's all games for Iowa up until last week were low-scoring grudge matches. Even though last week was 6-0 at the half, they ended up winning 40-0. Who knew? Who knows if that's going to continue? But the Hawkeyes beat Iowa State last year 20-13. It was Kirk Ferentz's 200th career win. And again, now they're scoring 40 points a game. Who knows what to expect? Kirk Ferentz, though, will make his season debut this year. Remember, he sat out last week, a 1-game suspension for a recruiting violation. The Hawkeyes lead this Cy-Hawk series 47-23. Series goes all the way back to 1894. Another interesting game to keep an eye on here. It doesn't get a lot of hype, but we do because we're locked on Big Ten. We look at all this stuff, and it is interesting. Keep an eye on number 19 Kansas taking on Illinois at Illinois, 7:00 Saturday on FS1. Kansas won last year's game between the two, 34-23, but they're only a 5.5-point favorite on Saturday, and this will be a nice step forward for Brett Bielema's football team if they can get the win in this one. But hey, all eyes are going to be on the Big House early today at Ann Arbor. Big noon kickoff on Fox. 2 playoff teams from last year. Hey, when we only had 4 teams in the playoff here, half of them right here, Texas and Michigan, before we expanded to 12 beginning this season. But they're going to go head-to-head, and Texas has quarterback Quinn Ewers, and the Texas Longhorns, of course, facing the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines. Should be a blast. Looking forward to that one, starting the day off big. And after a long day of football in the Big Ten, the nation's attention will look to Lincoln, Nebraska, as the Huskers host Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and Shiloh Sanders, as well as two-way star Travis Hunter and the Colorado Buffaloes on NBC. And, of course, the nation will get their first good look if they didn't watch Nebraska last week, since this is a nationally televised game. Look at Huskers star and their freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola. So they got their own star power of their own, even though the whole Sanders family is coming on the other side. Again, and Colorado won the game last year. Nebraska wasn't really playing well early in the season last year, but I think things are a little bit different this year. And I think Nebraska's going to have a big season. And I think they're going to win that game against Coach Prime and Colorado. You know, we posted that and got a few nasty texts from Colorado fans out there. How dare I suggest that? This is Locked On Big Ten, right? Colorado, we're rooting for Nebraska on this one. And one more reminder, after the Colorado-Nebraska game, we're going live on YouTube, on our YouTube Locked On Big Ten channel. So join us immediately for the first immediate reaction to that game and a recap of the entire day across the Big Ten Conference. All right. In the meantime, if you're new here, we'd love you to subscribe. It is free. We don't require any other information other than you clicking a button, and then we're in your system. All right. Subscribe and then share. I know you know a friend out there who's a Big Ten alum or a fan, and they don't know we're here yet. So share as well. There's a little share arrow. We would really appreciate that. Subscribe, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, wherever you get your podcasts. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And while you're there at our website, talkbig10.com, looking at where we keep all of our podcasts, there's also merchandise available for your favorite team. You can buy shirts and hats and all that from your favorite school right there at talkbig10.com. There's the scroll right on the bottom if you're watching on video, at least for just another second. All right. Well, we're going to keep that in mind. A couple of Big Ten teams in action tonight. Friday Night Lights. By the way, why is Ryan Day upset? Everything seems to be going great at Ohio State. We'll tell you all you need to know about all that, plus our Pigskin Picks, maybe a surprise or two for you coming up then. Hang around for those. It's all next right here on Locked On Big Ten. When you're hiring for a small business or maybe a small office that you're in charge of, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's just not just some job board out there. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn is consistently finding ways to make their process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. You should too. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget to peruse our website, talkbig10.com. Let's get into some other news here. Ohio State had a fairly easy win over Akron last week, 52-6, as a matter of fact. But Ryan Day wasn't happy. Well, there were a couple of things. There were a couple of legitimate reasons. His team did not score till about 2:44 to go in the first quarter, and they were only up 17-3 at the half. So he called out some of his offensive line play. That is something that they're trying to get figured out, specifically their two guards. Austin Seinreveld and also Tagra Shabola didn't like how they played early on. They were making their first career starts, but Ryan Day says, hey, that's no excuse. We're Ohio State. If you're on the field, need you to perform. Got to do better. All right? He said, let's go. They started to play better in the second half, and now they'll have their second game of their career. Western Michigan on the schedule on Saturday. All right, now, Friday Night Lights. Got a couple of games tonight in the Big Ten. Should be an automatic win for the Hoosiers. Western Illinois at Indiana at Bloomington, 7 o'clock Friday night, Big Ten Network if you want to catch it. There's no line on the game because it's supposed to be an Indiana blowout. Western Illinois has college football's longest losing streak at 25 games. So they want to break that. Hoosiers don't want them to break that. Indiana's top three runners rushed for 222 yards and 3 scores last week against Florida International. And they're going to be facing a Western Illinois defense that gave up 300-plus yards, about 7.6 yards a clip against Northern Illinois last weekend. Hoosiers should have a big day on the ground. No excuses there. And first-year head coach Kurt Cignetti, he wants the Hoosiers to improve to 2-0, and he's looking for more consistency out of his transfer quarterback, Curtis Rourke, who made his first start last week, who threw for 180 yards and a touchdown last week. He wants more out of him. And, Kurt Cignetti also addressed on his radio show with Don Fisher this week about the crowds at Indiana, wants bigger crowds there, and definitely in the second half wants bigger crowds. He's saying, hey, look, but we've got the key to fix that. And he's taking responsibility. The football team's got to win. Football team's got to play well. Football team's got to play well through the entire game, and then the crowds will be bigger and they'll stay. At least he acknowledged that, and it's probably about 99.9% true, if not 100. There's another Big Ten game going on Friday night tonight. Duke at Northwestern. I wonder what the average SAT score is on these football teams. Probably pretty high. Do they still do SATs? Maybe I'm aging myself there. It's 9 o'clock. Friday night, Eastern time, FS1. Now, you remember, Northwestern opened its new temporary lakefront stadium on campus with a win against Miami of Ohio last week. Now it's going to play its first night game there on campus on the shores of Lake Michigan by hosting Duke. While Northwestern had a remarkable 8-win season last year, they were beat soundly by Duke last year, 38-14. That was one game that just got away from them. Now, Duke was good last year. And they got a new coach now because the coach moved on. Coach Texas A&M got the big job. And Duke is led by former Miami head coach and Penn State defensive coordinator Manny Diaz. So back into the Big Ten here. Northwestern quarterback Mike Wright looked looked okay in the Wildcats win versus Miami of Ohio. He completed 18 to 30 passes, 178 yards. He's a Mississippi State transfer. He led 3 scoring drives, but he did lose a fumble there at the goal line at the end of the half. It's very costly. Dating back, it was costly because they really could have used those points to become more comfortable in the second half of a close game. Dating back to last year, Northwestern is riding a 5-game winning streak, its best streak in 4 years. Speaking of these Friday night football games, you may have noticed that Michigan has never played on Friday night. And according to athletic director Ward Manuel, they never will. You may have also noticed an increase in Big Ten teams playing on Friday night each week. It's all part of this new multi-network TV deal that the Big Ten has. Everybody is going to be playing Friday night games. Not Michigan. Not Michigan. Manuel said in a recent podcast, he's put his foot down with the conference and with the TV executives. The Michigan absolutely will not play on Friday nights. In fact, Michigan has served notice that the Wolverines will not play more than 2 home night games on Saturdays at the Big House. And they've already played one. That was Fresno State last week. A lot of open to be determined times, future games, but they're only going to have one more night game at the Big House. Now, the reason for this, according to Manuel, is Michigan's wide-ranging fan base comes from some long distance. I mean, they got people coming from the Upper Peninsula, driving all the way down to Ann Arbor, and then after the game, driving back. So fans don't like it. That's why they have a lot of those noon kickoffs on a Saturday, and he don't want that to change. So I guess he's getting his way so far. No Friday night for Michigan. Not too many night games at Michigan as well. It's at noon. It's at noon tomorrow. Noon. Gonna be the maize out. Everybody wearing the yellow maize. The sun's gonna be beating down on the middle of the afternoon. It's gonna be bright. It's gonna be quite the sight to see on Fox at noon on Saturday. Can't wait for that one against the Texas Longhorns. All right, coming up, we do Pigskin Picks again. We got a lot of new people here. The final segment of the podcast, we always do a set feature. Mondays is my top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. Tuesdays are Tuesday tweets. Wednesday, we always do our power rankings of what we think the conference standings should look like. Thursday, we look at the Big Ten schedule on the Big Ten Network with Big Ten Classics and Big Ten Live Action. And Fridays, Pigskin Picks. We got the point spreads. We got the point totals. We'll tell you what we think. Maybe a surprise or two. That's all coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Game time. This is how you get tickets. You want to go to a Big Ten game? Get them with GameTime, an app on your phone. It is fantastic. They have all-in pricing ready to go. You turn that feature on and everything's right there ready to go on the app. And GameTime also has a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out the fluff and only shows you just incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's really easy to use. It is fantastic. And by the way, this isn't just sporting events. I mean, sure, you want to go to a Big Ten game? Great. You want to go to a Major League Baseball game? Awesome. You want to go to an NFL game? You could do it. And it's not just sports, comedy shows, theater, whatever you have in your local area, get the tickets on GameTime. My favorite feature is you can see the view of the seat of the ticket you're about to buy right there on your phone. It shows you, you click, and you're good to go. Fantastic deals. Don't forget, GameTime Picks, curation, making it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. All-in pricing, all that right there with that toggle feature it has. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with GameTime, Big Ten tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and the redeem code LOCKDOWNCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. I can spell. LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's do this. It is time for Pigskin Picks to get you ready for the weekend. We use the point spreads from our friends at FanDuel. I'll put this on the screen, and we'll be good to go. Let's go full screen with this. All right, here we go. Some games don't have any, like I told you, Indiana playing tonight. Vegas won't even put a line on that one because it's going to be a huge blowout. But we do have Duke and Northwestern. Northwestern, a 2.5-point favorite. They're at home. That's usually worth about 3 points. I'll take Northwestern, the 2.5 and the 36.5. That may be high. I'm going to go under 36.5. Texas and Michigan. I don't, even if Texas wins this game, Big Ten fans, I don't know that's going to be by 7.5 or more. I think it's inside 7. So give me Michigan. Texas may win, but they're not going to win by 8 or more points. The over-under, 42.5. This line has moved. That number has moved like 6 points. Yeah, it used to be like 48. It's coming down. So that tells me we should probably take the over. All right. Bowling Green at Penn State. Yeah, they should. You know, again, love that offense at Penn State. They're going to be working on some stuff. Andy Kolonicki, I think they covered the 35.5. That half bothers me. I would rather it just be 5 solid touchdowns and 35 points, nevertheless. And let them climb over the over at 48.5. Iowa State and Iowa. I like Iowa to win. I like them to cover the 3. I'm still taking the under 35.5. You know me by now. I always take the under in Iowa games, even though they scored 40 last week. Give me the under 35.5 for the total. Maryland hosting Michigan State. I did not like what I saw out of Michigan State last week. Maryland was high flying, but it was a lesser opponent. Maryland will win this game. Yeah, I think they win by 2 scores. Give me the minus 9.5 in Maryland. And the slightly over 45.5. Eastern Michigan going way out west to Washington. Washington should ground and pound Eastern Michigan, cover the 25.5. Probably gets over the over at 47.5 in this one. All right, we got Kansas and Illinois. I'm rooting for Illinois on this one. This is I think this is a winnable game. Let me call the upset here. Give me Illinois. And maybe the under. 57.5. That's a lot for this one. Colorado at Nebraska. I'm all about Nebraska on this one. I think Nebraska wins this game by 2 scores. And this game probably hits the over. Colorado puts up a lot of points, a lot of yards. I think Nebraska will, since they're going to win. Give me the over 58.5. Western Michigan at Ohio State. Ohio State will cover. And this game will go over. Ohio State will score 53.5, 54 by itself. Maybe Western Michigan kicks a field goal or gets a touchdown. That's it. But that'll put the number over. Boise State is at Oregon. Oregon with Idaho last week, only beating them by 10. Are they going to cover the 19.5? They're either going to be mad and have fixed everything and just blow Boise State's doors off, or maybe they don't have it quite figured out yet. 19.5, that's a lot to ask. Maybe they win, but they keep it under 19.5. And I'm going to stay away from that over under at 61.5 because I just don't know. And then Utah State at Southern Cal. Southern Cal magnificent against LSU last week. I could see them winning over Utah State by 4 touchdowns, but that hook, that 0.5. What the heck? USC's on a roll. Let's take them covering the 28.5 and blowing over the 63. You know, they didn't go over in the USC LSU game, did they? Let's see if they go over on this one. Now, you know what? No, I'm calling on audible live on the air. This will not hit the over. USC's defense is better. It's going to hold Utah State even in more check. And, you know, I don't know how close USC is going to get to the 63 by themselves. So, give me USC to cover the 28.5, but the game stays under. How about that for threading the needle? There you have it. Those are our Pigskin Picks going into week 2 of the college football season. Let me know what you think. Hit me up with comments and opinions like you guys always do. That always helps things get going on the podcast. You're interacting and your comments on YouTube back and forth. I love it. Thank you. Keep that going on. And also comments on Twitter. You can hit me up there at Talk Big Ten throughout the weekend, YouTube. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go. All of our merchandise is there from your favorite school. You can buy it there directly. Piece of cake. Get ready for the rest of this season. And no matter what you do, subscribe. It's free. Share. It's free. And like and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get this latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Throughout the weekend, why don't you peruse around, catch a couple other podcasts from the past week from Locked On Big Ten. Get caught up. Let me know what you think. And for a second, listen, check out our friends at Locked On College Football too. We got a lot of products at Locked On, all the sports, all the conferences, all the teams right there. Locked On College Football, by the way, also available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, enjoy the games on Saturday. I know I will, and hope to see you and talk to you on Saturday night as soon as the final whistle goes with Colorado at Nebraska. We will be live on our YouTube channel, Locked On Big Ten YouTube. Hope to see you there. We'll talk about that. Immediate reaction to that game and thoughts on all the other Big Ten games throughout the day. Hope to see you there. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten. We'll see you next time.